California Governor Gavin Newsom beats the recall election.
Nicholas takes a turn, what that means for residents.
And how large companies are helping pay for their employees' tuitions.
Broadcasting live from the University of North Texas, this is ntTV News at Noon.
Thanks for joining us on ntTV News at Noon. I'm Jack Springer.
And I'm Gabby Carden. California Democratic Governor Gavin Newsom defeated a recall effort to remove him from office last night. This was the fourth recall election of a governor in U.S. history. The vote comes after a wave of criticism over the handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. The poll suggested a recall vote which was more likely to fail than succeed, but it was still possible Newsom wasn't going to survive.
The decision to nationalize the race and talk about Trump aimed at boosting Democratic turnout in an off-year, off-month election. It may be paying off.
It creates a stark contrast between the governor and Larry Elder.
I just don't support him being recalled. I don't see Elder or any of the other ones as viable candidates or leadership for the state.
The question on the ballot today, should Newsom be recalled? And if so, who should replace him?
I can't think of any level, any front, any policy this man has engaged in that has made life better for us in California. He has been an abject failure.
Elder, the conservative talk show host, is the GOP frontrunner of more than 40 challengers on the second part of the ballot.
Will Gavin Newsom accept the results of the election when he loses?
We're going to file lawsuits in a timely fashion. What I believe is that no matter what they do, and I believe that there might very well be shenanigans, as they were in the 2020 election.
Questioning the results before a single vote's been counted. Some of his supporters buying.
This election was challenging and unusual due to the odd timing and being conducted primarily by mail. But Governor Gavin Newsom thanked voters for rejecting the recall and for reaffirming his policy and values. The Mesquite Police Department and the Mesquite Independent School District were made aware of several social media threats directed at multiple MISD high schools earlier this week. The non-specific threats were related to an event that occurred last night. MPD investigators were notified and identified a 14-year-old juvenile as the suspect. The offender is being charged with the felony of false alarm or report, which is considered a state jail felony.
And now an update on the Waxahachie High School situation. Some students vandalized 14 bathrooms in the school for a social media challenge, costing thousands of dollars in damage. In a bizarre turn of events, students have listed the school for sale on eBay.
Now, I don't know what would honestly happen if we put UNT for sale on eBay.
Well, we've got the rock wall, the pool, maybe it's worth like a couple bucks.
A couple bucks if we can afford it. That's actually fair, but I managed the walk to the rec center now that the weather's starting to cool down. So Michaela, what do we have for later this week?
Yeah, those walks around campus are finally getting a little bit more bearable, but let's go ahead and take a look at what we have to look forward to. Right now it's going to be about 77, but with that sun beating down on us, it's going to feel a little bit warmer at 70, or a little bit cooler, I'm so sorry, at 76 because of that 5-mile-an-hour wind speed. Moving into tonight's weather, it's going to be 70 degrees, but it's going to feel like 68 with that 10-mile-an-hour wind speed. So make sure you pack a sweatshirt to wherever you plan on going tonight. It's going to be kind of chilly, especially compared to what we've been used to. Moving into tomorrow, it is going to be 91 degrees. Now it's going to feel a little cooler at 88, but still 91 is going to be pretty high, but nothing that we haven't already been dealing with for the past couple of weeks, if not months. So just make sure you prepare for that, bring lots of water, dress appropriately, and I will have more for you for next week in the full weather later on. Back to you guys.
The U.S. has been a safe haven for thousands of Afghan evacuees fleeing from the Taliban. But those flights into the states have temporarily halted after a case of measles were found in 5 refugees. Measles is a highly contagious disease, but leading health officials say that the disease is preventable through vaccination. Mandy Gaither, CNN, has more.
Inbound to the U.S., Afghans seeking refuge, but now a warning for anyone potentially exposed, whether on board, in an airport, hospital, or hotel. Cases of measles were found in 5 people who recently arrived in the U.S.
We want the people who work on these bases and the families who live there to know how seriously we're taking it.
All flights of Afghan evacuees into the U.S. have been halted for at least a week. The Department of Defense says they're working to immunize evacuees before they arrive. Those infected are being housed separately and are getting medical care as contact tracing continues, and some are asked to quarantine.
If somebody has measles around you and you are not vaccinated, you have a 90% chance of getting measles.
Dr. Nora Colburn, an infectious diseases specialist at the Ohio State Wexner Medical Center, says those most at risk are children who haven't been fully vaccinated and those who are immunocompromised. The CDC says measles is one of the most contagious diseases in the world. While the virus was eliminated in the U.S. in 2000, recent declines in measles vaccinations have caused cases of this vaccine-preventable disease to rebound.
It's characterized by fever, cough, conjunctivitis, which is redness around the eyes, and a fine rash.
The CDC says measles can be dangerous, especially for babies and young children. Dr. Colburn says it's preventable with vaccination.
It's heartbreaking. Nobody should have to die of this disease.
For Health Minute, I'm Mandy Gaither.
Shreya Bandari, a high school senior from Frisco, Texas, has a strong passion for education. She wanted to share it with the world, so Bandari published a math book titled Addition Workbook for Kids. Bandari purchased over 100 copies of her book using money she made from tutoring, and then she went and donated the books to children's advocacy centers in Collin County, Kairos International, and the Ronald McDonald House. According to Bandari, every child in the world deserves a great education, and she wanted to contribute to that. The book can be purchased on Amazon and at Barnes & Noble. When we return, COVID-19 updates throughout North Texas region as cases continue to rise.
And how Louisiana residents are being affected by Hurricane Nicholas. Stay with us.
Sorry. Oh, sorry, man. Oh, sorry.
Imagine it's ice cream day at the office. And everyone from the day before voted for their favorite flavor. Everyone but you. You decided not to vote. The flavor they picked isn't the one that you wanted. But can you really complain? Shh! Now imagine that with an elected official.
Choose not to vote, choose not to be heard. Get registered today.
As COVID-19 cases continue to rise, hospitals in Tarrant County are struggling. On Tuesday, the county's public health director has stated that the pediatric hospitals are full. There are over 400 pediatric hospital beds in Tarrant County, but the rising number of COVID patients has created a capacity strain. As of Tuesday, there are 94 COVID-19 patients throughout North Texas communities. According to an email from the DFW Hospital Council, the pediatric ICU beds are full and pediatric beds are 95% full. Vinny Taneja, Tarrant County's public health director, has expressed concern for pediatric patients. Children need other treatments and surgeries in the hospitals, and it's difficult to provide them with the care they need. Attention students, September 20th is the last day to submit a mandatory COVID test. UNT is requiring testing for all students, faculty, and staff. Designated intervals for the 2021 fall semester. Individuals in need of testing can do so at these 3 locations: room 381 in the Union, a walk-up kiosk outside Goolsby Chapel, and the Student Health and Wellness Center inside of Chestnut Hall. You can book an appointment for these sites online through UNT's Health and Wellness Center. Vaccinated individuals can opt out of the mandatory testing by uploading full proof of vaccination to UNT's Health Alert website. Students who fail to comply with the mandatory COVID-19 testing and reporting requirements will go through student conduct process and could result in the student being considered not in good standing. Inability to participate in university activities, suspension, or expulsion are some of the consequences students could face if they fail to provide test results. Don't forget, the cutoff date for submitting the required testing is September 20th.
President Biden's mask mandate was set to face challenges at the time of its conception. Now, 2 Texas counties have stated they will not comply with the order. Both Wise and Ellis held commissioner meetings where in unanimous support voted against implementing the mandate. Wise County Judge J.D. Clark sent an email to federal employees informing them of the decision, stating Wise County, as a local county governmental entity and employer, will not require the mandate of employees to receive the COVID-19 vaccinations. In Ellis County, citizens spoke during the court's meeting in favor of the resolution against the mask mandate, and when the resolution passed, celebrated in triumph. States across the U.S. have been seeing a large pushback against the mandate. In Concord, New Hampshire, citizens were joined by state representatives in protest against the president's order. Hurricane Nicholas made landfall just 1 day ago and has already left many Texans in the dark, but it seems that the tropical storm has more in store for other states along the coast. CNN's Chris Nguyen has more.
As Nicholas moves from Texas to Louisiana, residents are now being told to stay inside for their safety, with some places expecting more rain in the coming days. Streets turn to rivers, homes submerged by rising floodwaters, and uprooted trees taking out homes. Nicholas unleashing its watery wrath on Texas and is aiming straight for an already devastated Louisiana.
The bottom line is much of Louisiana, central and south Louisiana, is projected to receive a lot of rain. That has already started. And one of the most distressing parts of this is the heaviest rain now is expected to fall in areas that were most devastated by Hurricane.
Nicholas is a slow-moving disaster, moving at the same pace as the average person walks, around 3 miles per hour. Hard-hit areas of Louisiana are now bracing for another catastrophe.
Particularly challenging because many individuals live in homes that are have not yet been repaired and not yet really even been temporarily repaired to the point where they can withstand.
And for people still living without power weeks after Hurricane Ida, Louisiana's governor says Nicholas may reverse restoration efforts.
We also suspect that there will be some of these homes and businesses that have begun to receive power again after Hurricane Ida that may lose it because of Nicholas.
Again, in Louisiana, thousands of residents still without power, many of whom are dealing with the aftermath of Hurricane Ida. Reporting from the Gulf Coast, I'm Chris Nguyen. Back to you.
Hopefully, Hurricane Nicholas will die down before it can cause further damage to the state of Louisiana.
Luckily, we're mostly out of the way here in North Texas.
The weather actually seems to be getting a little nicer every day.
Michaela, are we continuing with that trend this week?
That trend is continuing to go lower and lower and lower. It's going to be a little... Let's take a look across North Texas. As I said before, it is 73 in Denton, 78 in Kinney, 68 in Fort Worth, and we are going to see 79 out in Silver Spring. Excuse me for 1 second, guys. Let me just fix my mic. Let's go ahead and
zoom out and look across the state really quick. There we go. Now across the state, 70 in Abilene, 77 in Austin. Everything is going to pretty much be in those nice mid-range 70s, if not higher 70s. Now, as we can see, 75 up in Oklahoma City. Everything's starting to cool down as we get closer and closer to that fall weather. Let's go ahead and take a look at our full weather forecast. As you can see, we are going to have 79 tomorrow, but sunny skies all throughout the week. The lows are going to constantly be in about 70s, with the lowest being tomorrow at 64, and the highs are constantly going to be consistent around that 92. Now, that is all I have for full weather. Tune in later on in the show for a little Your Health segment by yours truly. But for right now, back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Michaela. Well, unfortunately for us, the fact that it's still warm outside raises the potential for cases of West Nile virus. Denton County reported 2 new positive cases of West Nile after checking mosquito traps in the rural parts of the county. Officials are planning to spray standing water areas this week to reduce mosquito population who harbor the virus. Ground spraying will start today through Friday between 9 p.m. at night and 5 a.m. in the morning. The targeted areas are Frisco Ranch, Frisco Hills, north of Oak Point. To help protect everyone, health officials recommend draining standing water in yards, dressing in long sleeves and pants when outdoors, and using insect repellent. And staying on the health subject, for reporter Michaela Goose has some info for UNT students looking to get a checkup.
Thanks, Jack. That's right. Attention students, happening right now at the Union South Lawn. The Division of Student Affairs is hosting the Health and Fitness Expo until 1 p.m. today. From free STI and HIV testing to scoliosis screening, students can come and enjoy the fun activities, stock up on fresh groceries, and to crave that sweet tooth, cookies provided from Cookie Crave. Back to you guys at the desk.
Thanks, Michaela. Amazon is on the road to higher employment rates after recently joining the list of retailers offering educational benefits to its employees by providing full tuition in a tight U.S. labor market. Amazon has attracted many needed hourly workers to deliver packages covering 100% of their tuition. Jen Sullivan has more on today's Consumer Watch.
1, 2, 3, Amazon!
I think that this is a positive approach. It's going to potentially attract stronger workers.
I didn't graduate from college yet, but that is definitely one of my goals in the near future.
Small business owners struggle in North Texas as the nationwide labor shortage continues. With 10.1 million unfilled positions nationwide at the end of June, even our school districts are feeling the effects. Multiple North Texas school districts are in desperate need for bus drivers. Plano ISD is combating unemployment by combining bus routes and raising pay to $21 an hour. There are multiple suspected reasons for the unemployment shortage. More employees are retiring as the baby boomer generation, reaches retirement age, and the lasting effects of the pandemic can be still felt with fewer employees having returned to work. There is hope for resurgence with federal employment benefits ending last week. Have you heard? Roads are not the only places you'll start seeing cops.
And 17 parks have finally received names. More of that when we return.
Where everyone plays a dangerous game with the flu. Going in uneducated, you run the risk of symptoms like cough, migraine, and fatigue. Don't be like this guy. Combat the flu with cough drops, ibuprofen, and a good night's sleep. Be smart, don't catch the flu.
UNT is more than 125 years in the making. To find new solutions, we create a new point of view. We know what's possible when creativity, originality, and independent thought converge. We're ranked a Tier 1 research university. We're home to excellence the size of Texas. Define your future at UNT and soar to new heights.
Hey, listen to my flow to save some H2O. This my water rhyme, and this is how it goes. First, turn off the sink and take some time to think. When you waste water, our supply shrinks. When you take a shower, not more than an hour. Shoot for 10 minutes and save water power. Use a reusable bottle, smart like Aristotle. Ditch all the plastic and be a role model. And that was my H2O flow. Please remember how it goes, because if you don't, Earth will go, oh no!
The Fort Worth Police Department has released an app that allows people to report issues through their mobile device. People can send in complaints about loud noise and report city code violations and other categories. There's no word if Denton or other cities in the DFW area will use this type of app. Cops on the road are a familiar sight to many, but now you'll start seeing them in the sky. The Arlington Police Department is joining a growing list of certified drone pilot officers in North Texas. This has raised privacy concerns, but Arlington Police Officer Lieutenant Neil Landfield assures that officers' pilots are still limited to go to approved areas. The potential benefits of having drone operators could help officers in situations where their lives are at risk and in search and rescue missions. The Dallas Police Department has stated that they have 5 drone-certified officers with plans to train more. Arlington also has plans on adding 8 more officers.
17 new names for Denton parks, fields, and trails were approved by the city board vote earlier this week. Gary Pecan, Director of Parks and Recreation, said the board will review another batch of applications towards the end of the month. Among names approved by Monday night was the name change of North Lakes Playground to Librata Lily Cantu Playground. Cantu, a 20-year-old Denton native, died 11 years ago this November while serving a community in a church in Peru. It's great to see the community come together to honor special individuals.
You know, it's interesting to see that some of the fields were named after professional athletes as well.
Yes, some of them were baseball players, and communities are also coming together around their favorite teams with football season being in full swing. Let's hand it over to James to get the scoop on sports.
Thank you, Gabby. When we come back, the Cowboys are already in injury trouble after week 1. Dallas is a team that's playoff bound, and UNT soccer is already in full swing.
When you park in front of the ramp, somebody can't make it up the ramp. When somebody can't make it up the ramp, they miss their class. When they miss their class, they fail their final. When they fail their final, they drop out of school. If you drop out of school, you get a face tattoo from a guy named Scorpion. Don't get a face tattoo from a guy named Scorpion. Be courteous. Don't block wheelchair ramps.
Oh, hey, didn't see you there. Let's get started. This is a motor vehicle. This is the blinker mechanism. To use it, push it up for the right blinker and down to go left. You're welcome. It was easy.
It's that time of year where everyone plays a dangerous game with the flu. Going in uneducated, you run the risk of symptoms like cough, migraine, and fatigue. Don't be like this guy. Combat the flu with cough drops, ibuprofen, and a good night's sleep. Be smart, don't catch the flu.
The return of football means the return of injuries. Cowboys wide receiver Michael Gallup is expected to be sidelined at least 3 weeks after suffering a calf injury in Week 1's loss against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Cedric Wilson will take over in Gallup's spot as the number 3 receiver on the team. Offensive coordinator Kellen Moore spoke highly of him Monday, stating, "He's the utility guy. He can do a little bit of everything. You saw him Thursday night when he had to go in there, and I felt like we didn't miss a beat." Gallup has been placed on injured reserve and, according to NFL rules, won't be eligible to play until the Week 5 matchup against the New York Giants on October 10th. The Dallas Wings of the WNBA have finally clinched a playoff berth, their first since 2018. The Wings currently sit at the 7th seed with 13 wins this year. 8 of the 12 teams in the league make the playoffs. The first 2 rounds are single elimination rounds. Then from there, both the semifinals and the finals are a best-of-5 series. The team last won a championship in 2008 when they were still the Detroit Shock. However, since moving to Dallas, the Wings have yet to make it past the first round of the playoffs. The WNBA playoffs start on Thursday, September 23rd, and continue until mid-October. UNT women's soccer team has gotten off to a hot start. The team is now 5-1-2 after their 2-0 win against Abilene Christian on Sunday. Both Sarah Fuller and Allie Bird were named CUSA Players of the Week for their performances this past few games. Fuller, a transfer from Vanderbilt, made national headlines for kicking for their football team. She leads the CUSA with 5 shutouts. Junior Allie Bird leads the Mean Green with 5 goals this season, good enough for second in the CUSA. The team goes against Florida Atlantic University tomorrow night.
When you think of Texas State Fair food, what comes to mind? Funnel cake? Sausage on a stick? Cotton candy? Typically nothing healthy. For Alaska, bears who are usually trying to gain weight before the hibernation season are now taking another route, getting lean by eating leftover green.
This crowd at the Alaska Wildlife Conservation Center in Portage is rushing to see one thing: the arrival of giant veggies left over from the state fair and the brown bears that will happily devour them.
We've been doing this for over a decade.
Conservation Center Director Trish Baker calls it a natural partnership.
The Alaska State Fair, of course, has all these fabulous vegetables that farmers have grown and competed with. And at the end of the fair, there's a lot of vegetables.
It's considered an enrichment activity for the bears and an exciting addition to their regular diet.
Great message, eat your veggies.
If you're quiet, you can even hear them softly munching on the greens. Today's drop-off of locally grown produce was somewhere between 800 and 1,000 pounds.
The big zucchini was in there.
Also on the menu, cauliflower and cabbages, laid low by the center's 3 brown bears.
It's fun to see them like this, enjoying the food, and get to see it from a safe distance.
2 of the bears, 17-year-old Patron and JB, are brother and sister. And just like many siblings, they don't always like to share.
They've got one thing on their mind right now, and that's putting on weight.
Today's activity was certainly a crowd pleaser for the people and the bears.
The bears don't get to attend the Alaska State Fair, but there's a portion of the Alaska State Fair that comes to them.
Only in Alaska, where big bears chow down on big veggies, a meal compliments of the Alaska State Fair.
Now, while bears are cute, I bet y'all will think this is way cuter. The Dallas Zoo has been posting behind-the-scenes footage of their new tiger cub named Sumini.
She was born on August 2nd and is the zoo's first critically endangered Sumatran tiger since 1948.
Now, I don't know if y'all were able to see any pictures or videos from their Twitter last night, but she's so cute. I want a baby tiger now.
I think she kind of looks like a Muppet covered in goo in a cute way, kind of like
That's
how
all
a
we
pug's
have.
cute.
That's all we have.
Thanks for watching ntTV News at Noon.
Join us again tomorrow here on North Texas Television. And do not disrespect